Well, thank you all for coming. My name is Patty Acomb, and I represent the districts of Minnetonka, Plymouth, and Woodland. And we are all here today to announce the Climate Action Caucus in the Minnesota House. In introducing this Climate Action Caucus, we recognize both the urgency and the scale of action required by the climate crisis. The work we do, or that we will do in this caucus, will reflect the big how big the climate challenges are. When we talk about climate change, we hear a lot about the urgency and about the years 2030 and 2050. I don't know if I will be here then, but I hope that my children and my grandchildren will be. And I want to be able to say I did everything in my power to make sure we leave the planet in the best possible shape for the next generation. As a new member of the Minnesota House, I was struck last session by how many young people are engaged on this issue of climate change. They came to the Capitol time and time again and testified in hearings. They organized in their communities, and they asked their local governments to respond. They wanted their elected officials to know that their future is in our hands, and the time to act is now. We want these young people to know we hear you and we stand with you. Tomorrow is another example of that dedication to the issue of climate change with the scheduled climate strike. And we want you to know that we will be there with you. The Climate Action Caucus wants to build upon the great work that was done in the last session. The chairs of all of our committees have been asked to consider their subject areas and what if any issues or bills that are in any way impacted by climate change. You'll hear today from chairs Wagenius and Hornstein and Hansen. And we also want to hear from others in our community about issues and ideas and get feedback from the community. So community engagement is a really vital piece of this initiative. We will work to create a climate action plan that outlines a path forward for Minnesotans to work together to create a future in which we all thrive. All Minnesotans have a stake in a safe, healthy climate, and all Minnesotans have a role to play in creating this future. And so next, I'm going to turn it over to Chair Wagenius, who will talk to us a little bit about the work she's been doing.
Again, thank you all for coming. Dr. Mark Seeley started our first energy and climate hearing by saying that Minnesota is experiencing the most profound changes in the country due to climate change. He said the pace of change is unprecedented and well documented by science. Young Minnesotans see the reality of the changing climate and know that it threatens their future. They're well aware of the 2018 report of the UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change that says that the world has only the next dozen years to sharply curb carbon dioxide emissions to head off the most catastrophic impacts of climate change. Last session, the House passed an energy and climate bill that included Governor Walz's 100% carbon-free standard by 2050. But it didn't just set a goal. The bill also included very concrete, doable efforts that would put us on a path to a carbon-free future. There, Minnesota can do changes that Minnesotans would expect of us. The Minnesota Senate was not ready to deal with climate change, so our provisions did not become law. But Minnesotans are ready. In a forum after forum and meeting after meeting, they are asking us to pass our bill and give them more opportunities to reduce their carbon footprint. We are ready. We're now preparing additional bills. Consumers want to know how their energy is being produced, so we will require electric utilities to print their energy mix, how much wind, how much solar, etc., on their electric bills. Another bill will require Xcel to give its Minnesota customers the same opportunities to save electricity and money that it gives to its Colorado customers. Still another provides new appliance efficiency standards to help Minnesotan consumers save energy and money. But we know that Minnesotans are going to want more, and so we will be hearing holding additional hearings outside of the Capitol where citizens can give us their ideas as we build an action plan for the changes that Minnesotans of all generations are demanding. Changes that will ensure the future we want for all Minnesotans, including the youngest. Representative Hornstein chairs our transportation.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Wagenius, and thank you all for coming. I'm Frank Hornstein. I chair the House Transportation, Finance, and Policy Division, and I represent the district in Minneapolis. So this moment in our history reminds me a lot of a moment just under 50 years ago, in 1970, when the first Earth Day took place. I was 10 years old. I marched that day, and that day was not only a seminal day for me in terms of my first activism for the environment, it really was for our nation. Because as a result of people marching and the teach-ins and the media attention that took place that day, we passed the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act, the Safe Drinking Water Act, the Environmental Protection Agency was created. That didn't happen by accident. It happened because people marched in the streets. And that day, there were many youth marching as well. So that brings us to tomorrow. And it's another movement moment in my mind, a moment that I think will be remembered like the first Earth Day. And so I thank the students and the youth that are leading this effort, and we do stand with you. Now, there is a lot that needs to be done in the transportation area. Transportation constitutes the fastest growing source of greenhouse gas emissions. And therefore, we will continue our work to ensure that we electrify our transportation infrastructure. Electric school buses, electric transit buses, charging infrastructure for electric cars. And one of the most important things we can do to curb greenhouse gas emissions in the transportation sector is to build a robust public transit system. Let's double the amount of transit riders in the next 10 years. And finally, we need to follow the lead of California in challenging the administration to have standards for clean cars. This is something we need to do in Minnesota. And so I return to the fact that the change we need to happen will only happen through this grassroots activism and movement building led by youth. And we are proud and honored to join them, and we will continue that work in the Climate Caucus. And I would now like to introduce the chair of the Environment and Natural Resources Finance and Policy Committee in the Minnesota House, Representative Rick Hansen.
Thank you. I should note, while Frank was marching in the streets 50 years ago, I was with a 4-H club picking up garbage in road ditches as an Earth Day project. And I think that's indicative of what can happen around our state. No matter where your background is, where your school is from, where you're at, people can participate tomorrow, and I think people will be participating tomorrow around the state, around the country, and around the world. The living environment around us is an opportunity to help resolve the disruption that is being caused by climate change. There are things that we can do that we've done in the past and we can do more of, and they're right there. Trees are one of them. An extensive tree planting program, ecologically appropriate around the state because that line of trees is moving because of climate change. How do we build in resiliency with our natural environment? Planting trees, having prairie, sequestering the carbon in the ground with organic matter and those root systems. Those are things that we can do, we've done in the past, but they're one type of thing that we can do. Dealing with garbage. How do we deal with garbage, and how do we deal with solid waste? Those are things that we can do. Minnesota has had a reputation and an expectation that we solve problems. And that takes everybody helping solve problems. And I am excited and encouraged that tomorrow we're going to have a lot of people here helping show the spotlight on the need to do something with climate change. I have 3 of the leaders here today, Mia DiLorenzo, Jawaria Jama, and Janani Srinivasa. I think I got those right. So they are going to talk a little bit about the student activism, or more importantly, student leadership, and making sure that things happen in our state. Welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Janani Srinivasa, and I'm the Communications Director for Minnesota Climate Strike. I would like to start off today by thanking the representatives and you all for being here. The climate crisis is an impending issue, and we appreciate the platform for youth voices. Minnesota Climate Strike is a youth-led organization dedicated to fighting for our planet. We demand the following: that political leaders enact powerful legislation to combat climate change, and on local and state levels of Minnesota, and to declare a climate emergency to declare a climate emergency. As a first-generation American, I can firsthand tell you the importance of democracy and how our values as a country are placed upon equity and fairness. Yet when it comes to climate, politicians across have failed to prioritize and act upon its disastrous effects. Low-income and frontline communities bear a majority of the repercussions and are given the least amount of help, while the wealthy and big corporations responsible receive little to no backlash. So we strike for them. We strike for our home. We strike for the families being displaced by the rising seas. We strike for the wildlife dying by human causes. And we strike for us, the next generation. And as a generation set to inherit this beautiful planet, we will not and cannot strive for anything less than immediate change. Because for us, for your children, for your grandchildren, we have no other choice. Our home is in danger, and we will strike to save it. The impending crisis surrounding our planet is undeniable. No one human is exempt to its effects. Unnatural weather disasters, rising seas, and high heat are all repercussions from our behavior. It is time we make change. Thank you.
Hey everyone, my name is Jawaria Jama, and I'm currently the co-state lead for the Minnesota Climate Strike. Youth across the globe have been organizing this past summer, have spent countless hours working with legislation, mobilizing youth, and building momentum for the climate justice movement and for the September 20th climate strike taking place tomorrow. As a student, many times our educators have been skeptical about the work that I and my peers have been doing. The conversation doesn't seem to be about whether climate change is real or not, but more so if it's important enough to act. Yet, I too am a first-generation American, and I know that the crisis is important and has and will continue to disproportionately affect low-income communities and communities of color. From Somalia to North Minneapolis, I've witnessed the ways in which climate change have impacted my community. I've witnessed the ways in which air pollution, water contamination, droughts, and food shortages have affected people that look like me and bear the same identities. We cannot continue to allow this crisis to hit vulnerable communities as it has. We need change, we need people power, and we need it now. Join us tomorrow to continue building this movement and fighting for policies that address those first-handedly impacted. I'm excited to share space with you all tomorrow. I hope to see you guys there. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mia DiLorenzo. I am the co-state lead along with Jawaria for the Minnesota Youth Climate Strike. I am here for one reason today, and that is we are in the middle of a complete climate breakdown. World leaders and politicians alike have been acting as though everything is normal. In reality, it is the complete opposite. We can't go about business as usual when business as usual is killing our planet. We strike to cause a massive disruption that our politicians cannot and will not ignore. We strike because that is what is absolutely necessary to change both the culture and the conversation. We aren't being alarmist, apocalyptic, or overdramatic. Seeing this as anything short of a crisis is simply not recognizing reality. We have the solutions, we have the technology, and we have the funding to prevent this impending catastrophe. The only thing we need is the willpower to act upon it. which is why we are proud to assist the Minnesota Climate Action Caucus to come up with equitable and just solutions to issues existing today, like environmental racism, the ruination of indigenous land, and climate refugees, all things that have been exacerbated by the climate crisis. And I would just like to make my final message today directed towards all the reporters in this room. I urge you to do one thing. As you write about this conference and about the strike tomorrow, please abstain from using the phrase climate change. Refer to it as a climate crisis, a climate catastrophe, a climate breakdown, a climate emergency, because that's what it is, and we can't change the culture without you. Thank you.
And I just want to give a really big thank you to each of you for taking time out of your day today to come, and we look forward to coming and joining you tomorrow. So, and with that, we open it up for questions.
To the lawmakers, the Green New Deal, I think, is something that officially the movement supports. Representative Hornstein, you put the bill out last time in the House. It did not make it. Your party's leadership did not want to bring it to a vote, and the Republicans brought it up. How are you reconciling these differences?
Well, thank you for the question, and I am the lead author. We have 20 other authors in the House, and this bill was introduced late in the session, and I would say, as a result, this is for sure a climate emergency, so thank you for clarifying that. This bill was written by the youth. The youth came to me, and we wrote the bill together, but it was primarily their work. And so this was a result of many months of work. It was introduced late in the session. And one of the things that our Climate Caucus is going to do is go out and talk to Minnesotans. And we're going to refine this proposal. We're going to continue to work with youth on it. This is a proposal that not only will be transformative in terms of the climate emergency we're going through, but also our economy and creating jobs. So we look forward to continuing that conversation.
Can you be more specific when you're talking about refining it?
Well, I think, we have a bill out there. It's a public document, and we want to make sure, we want to have a conversation with Minnesotans about it. And maybe there's some things that can be added. Maybe there's some other ways it can be worked on, and that's part of what our goal is as a Climate Caucus, to go out into the community, to have public hearings, to engage with folks about it. So I'm very proud of the work that the youth did on this. Sophia here was one of the Sophia Fax here was one of the people that was involved, and this is really a framing document nationally and internationally. So there's different versions of it, different ways that people are going about proposing it. The state of New York has passed a version of it. So we're going to continue to have those conversations.
I've heard speakers about climate change and say it's really about money. People are invested in fossil fuels. They make a lot of money from fossil fuels. And my wonder is, why don't we start taxing people who use fossil fuels? Why don't we require money back from them that would help us build our renewable energy infrastructure?
Well, maybe I'll take a jab unless Jean wants to pipe in on it. I think that as Frank said, or excuse me, as Representative Hornstein said, it's our intent to go out into the community and hear the issues and the solutions, frankly, that Minnesotans want to see happen. And so I'm hopeful that we can engage people around the state to hear about your idea possibly and others. And so this isn't something set. We haven't defined what it's going to be. We hope to build upon the good work that has been started in the House in previous sessions. And so I'm hopeful that we can engage with many people around the state to hear their opinions about, suggestions like yours and others.
I don't want to forget to let you know that when we do a mini session in Rochester, when we get there, we will have an open mic to hear from citizens about what they want to do. But to get more directly to your question, maybe there's a different way to think about your question. Look at what Excel is doing right now. They are saying no more coal, coal will be gone in 2030. And they're telling us that it is cheaper, it is better for consumers to do wind and solar. So wind, right now, is cheaper than using a standing coal plant to generate electricity. We know that solar is dropping so fast in cost that it is expected to be cheaper than wind in 4 or 5 years. So it's not always about raising money. Efficiency and fuel switching can actually be a savings. So I don't want to frame it only as something that is costly. Let us also frame it as something that's saving.
For you legislators, with all due respect to Representative Acomb, we're looking at the stalwart House environmentalists between the bunch of you up here over a number of years. I don't see any Republicans up here. I don't see anybody else. What makes you think that this is going to be any different from what you guys have been trying to do for your whole careers in various forms?
So I think that's probably one of the reasons that the speaker asked me to chair this committee. And I think that coming from the suburbs, we are hearing from all of our constituents that this is an issue that's very important to them. And many other suburban legislators here as well. And so the climate is about our future, and it's an issue that we are hearing that is important to our constituents. And so I don't think it's just a metro issue. I think it's a metro, suburban, rural issue. It's a Minnesota issue.
There's no question we are hearing from Minnesotans who are saying, we get it. They have expectations they didn't have a year ago, certainly not 5 years ago, and not a year ago. So one of the things as politicians, we're sensitive about changes and what people are saying. And there is a change out there. And I think the fact that we have a number of suburban legislators who are asking us to come into their districts, to talk, to listen to ideas of people. I mean, I've been out for example, in the Minnetonka area, and people were saying, what is it you can do? What is it we can do? What can we do together? It was amazing.
I think tomorrow will make a big difference because there are going to be students who have Democratic parents, they have Republican parents, they have independent parents, and I think parents are going to support their students. And their children are crying for us to do something. And I think that's what makes the difference. And I think that those voices that are here right now in this crisis, in this moment, can make change. And they will, and that can change hearts and minds. And you're going to see movement because you're going to have students come home to parents, whether, again, whatever party they're from, and say, we need to make some changes. We're supporting this.
You know, that led me to my next question for one of the students or any of them. I'm interested in if any of you guys have parents or family members who are unconvinced or who you feel you need to convince or will convince, or maybe your friends, if you can talk about what Representative Hansen just talked about. Because I'm sorry, but you guys don't get a vote yet. You're not.
Right.
I didn't vote.
Yeah, we did. Okay.
I know that for myself, like especially like growing up in North Minneapolis, climate change and like environmental activism isn't really talked about much, and it's not really brought up because the people in our community don't know that things like pollution and the water contamination is directly affecting us. And so I also believe that it's a matter of educating people more and like making sure that they do know the facts and they do know the places that they live is actually hitting them. I just don't think that it's been reaching people on the same level that it's been reaching us.
Yeah, and then I also think that it's kind of been more discussed as somewhat of a partisan issue, and I think we need to back away from that because we know that it's based on science, we know that it's based on facts. We've already seen the effects, people are already suffering, people are already dying, and we need to realize that, and I think that due to like hyper-partisanship, and then kind of a lot of people talking about it as if it's just a very gray area between what is partisan and what is factual. And I think that kind of moving it more towards the idea that lives are being affected, lives are being taken away, and then kind of just creating, like the Caucus is doing here, creating a strong front with youth, with frontline youth, with youth from across the state, and then with legislators to create legislation that addresses all of these issues and all of these existing inequities that are exacerbated by the climate crisis.
That's a big challenge you have because, I mean, here you are, this is the DFL Climate Action Caucus. How do you make tomorrow's event go beyond being easily cast as, it's a Democratic-backed event, those are a bunch of Democratic kids?
Right, exactly. But I think that we've actually had people reach out to us specifically saying, hi, I used to be conservative and I used to support the Conservative Party, but then they started kind of talking about how the climate crisis, and but I don't like the Democratic side either because there's some stuff going on there. So I think that kind of recognizing climate as the #1 issue for our generation, it really does transcend politics. And so I think that once we stop talking about it in this partisan lens, and stop seeing it as, does this representative support this? Are they Republican? Are they Democratic? Once we stop seeing it as that and seeing it as a standalone issue that affects literally everything that we can even think of, then I think that we can kind of move forward. But I do know that the people in my generation are certainly crossing all these barriers to talk to their neighbors, talk to their friends, talk to their parents about what they can do. So.
Time for one last question. All right, thank you.
Chair Wagenius, you mentioned that you will be scouting other legislation for potential impact on climate. How can you or others in the caucus or others in the legislature ensure that those issues are addressed adequately and they incorporate solutions to the climate crisis?
Well, what I like to do most is to write bills. I don't necessarily author them all, but we had a lot of bills last time, and we put them all into an omnibus bill. This year, we're going to double down, just because we didn't get the ones done. At some point, the pressure from these folks is going to be enough to say, we've got to do some of these concrete, very doable things, solar-run schools, EV charging stations, all those very concrete, doable things. We will get them done. That's what Minnesotans want.
All right, well, thank you all for coming, and I hope that you will join us in joining the youth at the climate strike tomorrow. So thank you.